Well, hello, my merry band of OSATers all, and welcome to this, the 68th podcast episode of the Sockmatician podcast. My name is Nathan Taylor. For those of you who don't know, if you are new and you have been channeled here from recent algorithmic attentions from the YouTube boffins, then thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have a lovely time watching the mad burblings of this crazy knitter slash actor, and if you are returning, as always, thank you for your ongoing support. You know how much I value you. Well, I've been busy again. I know many of you, beg pardon. First of all, look around. That was my chair, by the way. I didn't just step on a kitten inadvertently. That would have been... Oh, that's good news. I've just found this chocolate. I'm supposed to give this to somebody else. You don't need to know about that. I thought I'd lost it, or I thought maybe Ben had eaten it. It's not the case. So there's that and that and that. Make sure I've got everything ready for what I want to talk about. As you can see, I have yet another setup. I think this is probably the one. Was it night before last? I spent... I'm going to tweak the lighting because I think it's a bit shadowy where I don't want it to be shadowy. Does that make any difference at all? I don't know. So the night before last, I rearranged this entire room. This, for those of you who haven't caught up with my machinations recently, is my study, really. It's the second smaller bedroom in our new home in North London, and I really love it. I spend a lot of time in here, I have to say. This chair was over there, for anybody who remembers the last little show and tell that I did in here for the last podcast episode. I have moved everything completely. The desk was here, and I'd sit at the desk doing all the stuff. I'd sit at the chair in the corner there, the door's behind. This is my sort of Abba shrine. Yeah, I know I've got sort of Abba letters here as well, but I've got a big framed thing and these rather camp red velvet curtains. I'm an actor. I'm not going to make any allowances or excuses for this. You need to make the allowances because I'm not making the excuses. I'm an actor, and this is what we do. We like theatre things. But I've got, I've got knitting needles hanging from hooks up here and things like that. It's definitely a knitting studio. All of my stash is down there, and I've got various bits and pieces. The desk is now over that way, basically this way. And it's much nicer because I didn't like to have it. Sometimes I'd sit here and the sun streams in through the afternoon, which is why the blind is currently down, and it would come in and it would hit me in the face, and you don't need to know all this nonsense. I don't know why I'm bothering to tell you, but just suffice to say, that's why we've got this new thing. I think it's a bit more interesting. There was a lot of bare wall behind me on the other one. I was really trying to work out where I wanted to put the angle, because sometimes you're here for a while. I'm aware of this. I don't want you having to just look at this ugly mug for an hour and a half or whatever. So, what have I been up to? I'm very, very excited. I have just put the finishing touches on the article that, the review, I should say, that I'm writing for Men Online for the review of the Pop House Hotel. I'm staying in the Abba-themed room at the Abba Gold themed room at the Pop House Hotel in Stockholm in Sweden. I'm sure you've seen the video. It was longer than I intended it to be. I'm sorry about that. It's just one of those things. I burble. There was so much more that I cut out. I wanted to show you. That really was as short as I could make it. So I have just been eating chocolate. I always do this. I always come to you. I come into your living room, your tablet, into your phone, and I'm salivary because I've just eaten chocolate, because I think I might be sitting here for a while and I need to get the energy reserves up, and I forget that it's going to make me all smackety. Apologies. # sorry not sorry. So what have I been doing? I've been writing that. I am really rather happy with it. I was told no more than 1,000 words. Now that's really hard. I've probably said twice that many at least already in the first couple of minutes of this podcast. I set myself a little challenge. My challenge was as follows. I was told no more than 1,000 words. I wanted to deliver an article that was exactly 1,000 words. I really like it. I like setting myself those kind of challenges. So I did it. I have delivered, but I haven't quite delivered it. It's ready to go. I need to just push the button. But I have prepared an article which is exactly 1,000 words long. And I just cracked my fingers. I'm so sorry. Will I never learn? I've also set myself, well, it's not really set me a challenge. It was a challenge to me, but it's a challenge for the readers. I have crafted in / hidden / being really devious about as many ABBA song titles, not album titles necessarily unless they double up, but ABBA song titles as I possibly can. They're hidden in the text. Some of them I blatantly say, like I say, oh, I remember singing The Winner Takes It All with my mum, for example. The Winner Takes It All clearly being one of the count. Some of them are much more sneaky. I'm going to say no more about that. I'm not even going to tell you how many there are. It's upwards of 25, quite substantially upwards of 25. And I will sort of I'll post links to it as and when it comes out. So you can all challenge yourselves with your knowledge of some pretty obscure ABBA songs. I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with it being obscure. I never like to assume or patronise a certain level of knowledge. I just go with like, these are the facts. I'm stupid, I know. I enjoy these silly things. They're games for me, but they're games hopefully for you as well. So what else have I been doing? Saturday last week was lovely. I went to Hampton Court Palace. Now, Hampton Court Palace is for any non-English or non-English history buffs. It's the home of Henry VIII and Elizabeth I, and it's southwest of London, but now it's kind of been amalgamated into southwest London, and it's absolutely beautiful. There's a Tudor aspect of it, obviously from the Tudors, but there's a much more modern bit as well, which is kind of like it almost looks a bit Versailles-ish. It's sort of that era, it's a bit Renaissance style. Very, very beautiful building. The reason we were there is because it was my friend Muriel's birthday weekend, and she had chosen we could spend a day there. There's so much to do at Hampton Court Palace. It really is fabulous. There's the famous maze. Now, I went into the maze with our good friend Hilary. Hilary is incredibly competitive, and the joy of this maze is it has a centre. You have to find the way into the centre, and then you have to find your way out. And it can be really tricky. It's a good maze. It does second guess you. It looks, when you see an aerial view, it looks tiny, but it will second guess you more times than you feel it should be able to. Very good. But I've got a theory about mazes. Now, I didn't figure this out for myself. This is something that I was once told, but I've sort of filed it away for squirrely use later on, and it's actually quite useful. Rather than making choices about whether to go left or right when you reach a turning, is this a dead end? Instead, all you do is you place one hand in contact with one wall. I use my right hand. And you keep that hand in contact with that wall, and it doesn't matter whether you go, if you come to a turning like that, where you have to go that way to keep in contact with it. If that's a dead end, then keeping in contact with this, you just go into the dead end, round it, and back out. And you still keep that hand in contact with the same wall. Never break contact. It will always work unless there's an area of hedges or whatever the barriers are which are not connected to the outside perimeter of the maze. If there's a little island of this stuff, you'll just go round and round it, like that. But you'll recognise that soon enough and go, okay, so this is the point where I now switch to the other wall, and off you go. So it's foolproof. It's absolutely foolproof. Hilary was unconvinced, shall we say. She was unconvinced. So what I did was I went in with her and I said, well, let's do it, let's prove it. So we held on to one side of the wall, and we dutifully went into some blind alleys, but we were not perturbed. We find this is great. We go into an alleyway because it's part of our journey with the one hand on the hedge. And it's not necessarily the shortest way there, but it's kind of foolproof. We got to the centre. We took some lovely photographs. Here's one. That's Hillary coming through this lovely phrase. Get off. And we then made it out into the. We sort of followed around. I thought, well, we can either go back the way we came, but what happens if we follow the other bit of the path? So we continued round the centre bit, same hand, same bit. We left and we saw the rest of the maze and unflinchingly found our way to the exit. Now, of course, if you enjoy the idea of being lost in a maze, then this takes away that fun entirely. So, not necessarily something I would advocate immediately. But if you're in a maze and you're sort of stumbling around, go, "Oh, it's really fun," and you go, "Actually, it stopped being fun. I would rather just get out now because I'm hungry and my sandwiches are outside," then you can employ this at any point. And off you go. It's marvellous. We were the first to get out because it was very easily done. And Hillary is a complete convert to my theory. And we then sat down and had a little picnic. We put the picnic blanket down because the grass was wet, but we got, it's so lovely. We got visited by a squirrel. Now, I really like squirrels, and this became my little friend. He's absolutely adorable, and if you see, we've got so many pictures of him. It was just getting closer and closer, and with every photograph, he was going, and look, this is when he's smiling. It was brilliant. He was so gorgeous. We weren't feeding him anything terrible. It was a little oat cake, and I thought that was probably fine. No crisps or anything like that. No, sort of very bland, low GI food. It would have kept him going through most of the winter, I think. Until someone's going to tell me that oatcakes are really bad for squirrels, please don't write in. I don't want to know. I won't do it again. But he became my friend. I liked him a lot. He seemed very happy. And one of the reasons I was pleased to be there is because I think I named it on the last one. Not this, we know what that is, that's the Sanka scarf, that's in the pile of knitting down here. But the Hampton Court shawl, which is still on the needles. So this is whips, I guess. Still on the needles, but I wanted, actually I haven't taken it out, it's probably still wet. No, it's all right. This is called Hampton Court, and it's named after Hampton Court Palace because Hampton Court Palace is kind of known for its peacocks, and not that we saw a single peacock at all. So I wanted to take a few photographs of this shawl, which is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, by the way. I want to take a few photographs of this shawl at Hampton Court. Look, it's massive. It is absolutely gargantuan. So I twirled it on, and as it's still on the needles, but I pretended it wasn't. And just like now, where you can't see any needles at all, and I tried to hide any of the ends where I changed balls of yarn, which I'll obviously weave in later. But we did a few. But it was raining, and it was beautiful. I love it. I'm in love with it. It feels so fantastic as well. I've tangled myself around my hood. Excuse me. What have I done? It went on, it's got to come off. Hang on. There we are. I'm free. It's good. Oh, you know, the panic you get when you get your head stuck in the railings as a child. I'm starting to feel that. I think we're okay, and I haven't lost any stitches off the needles. No, it's all good. So that's what I wanted to do, and I'm really pleased with some of the pictures. Here's one of them. Actually, do you know what? Let's do it properly, and let's give you a sort of a full screenshot. I think it's worth it. This is one of them. I'm really pleased with it. It'll probably make it into the pattern. I may or may not go back because I haven't done the edges of it. I don't know what to do. And then actually let's nudge across and see the other one as well that I took that I've really liked. Oh, it's so lovely. I really like this shawl. I'm very happy with it. Anyway, but that's not about whips. We don't need to talk about that later. We've just done it. So that's one of the main reasons I was there. It's Fred's birthday. No, I want to photograph the patterns. Self-absorbed little bugger. No, genuinely, we had a really lovely day. We took part in... I disgraced myself. I do this quite a lot. Now, the last time I was at Hampton Court Palace, I got into trouble. I was there doing a Singing Waiters event. Somebody had hired one of the rooms in Henry VIII's apartments for a 50th birthday party. Okay, someone with money, clearly. And I had been hired, along with my team, to do one of the Singing Waiters events. So I was pretending to be the maitre d', and there was a chef, and there was a waiter, and the three of us, we do this little subterfuge thing, we put on this little scene. It becomes singy, we start singing, we get everyone up and dancing, we have a lovely time, it's wonderful. Now there was a really, the sort of the party organiser was a bit of an officious woman, and I'd worked really hard to charm her at the beginning, so to just be on her side and let her know that we wanted to fit in around with what she was doing. We were supposed to be really low maintenance, it was all good. And she was a bit dubious. But it was a tough gig. These people were posh, like really posh, and posh people sometimes don't like. They weren't posh with nothing to prove, they were posh aspiring. And they were the kind of people who wanted to show the world how posh they were, but they didn't really want to have much of play. But we got them up and dancing, and it was hard work, and we did it. And it was fabulous, and everyone had a really good time. And afterwards, I was a bit of a high, I was like, yeah, it was a successful gig. And I went up to this lady and I said, so, everything okay? She went, no! I said, oh, really? Why not? She said, you have broken all the rules of the Royal Palace Charter. I said, really? Did I? Honestly? Because I wasn't aware that I had. And she said, nobody is allowed to dance in that room. I said, oh, really? She said, the tapestries, the room is extraordinary. It's lined with these 16th, 17th century tapestries. It's quite extraordinary. And there are barriers around them and ropes at sort of knee height to stop people from going too close, and you're not allowed to touch and things like that. She said, these tapestries are priceless. One tiny splash of red wine and it's all over. I was like, please reassure me that no damage was done and no red wine was spilled. She said, well, no, but I said, then surely we're all good, right? She wasn't having any of it. That was some years ago. Cut to Saturday, I'm sitting in the same room. I go, oh, I recognise this room, and the memories came flooding back. And people in period costume came out and they started putting on a little bit of a skit for everybody, which was essentially for all the children in the room. There's lots of children and adults who've been told, go there at 3:00 and you'll have some fun. And they divided us into half, and some people were going to sing, and some people were going to go into the next room and put on and rehearse a little play. And it was all going to be done in like seconds. We learned to, ah, Robin, gentle Robin, tell me how thy layman doth, and thou shalt know of mine. That was my part. Ah, Robin. Oh, I can't remember the other part. Anyway, there's another part. We did it in two parts. Ah, Robin, gentle Robin, tell me how thy layman doth, and thou shalt know of mine. Yeah, that's my part. And in the meantime, they said, the Queen is displeased. Queen Elizabeth I. She's very displeased with us, and we want to get back in her good books. What can we do? And someone said, tell a joke. And she said, yes, does anyone know any jokes? And nobody said anything. Nobody. I've been that person. I am an actor. I've done jobs where you're trying to get engagement and nobody wants to be involved, and it's painful. And I thought, I want to give something to these people. So I said, I know a joke. And in my head, I went blank. Well, not entirely blank. I could think of one joke. It was filthy. I panicked. She said, oh, good, what's your joke? And I asked the question. Ben behind was like, Nathan, what are you doing? No! It was too late. I couldn't go back. So I said the end of this joke. Now, it's only filthy if your brain works in a certain way. I'm not going to say the joke. Do not ask me to say the joke, because this is a PG podcast. Oh my God. The joke is probably about an 18 or an R, I think that would be in the States. really, really bad, and there was silence in the room as I delivered the punchline. Now, the joke doesn't require me to say any bad language. It's a joke that you kind of have to do the work yourself, but when you get it, you go, oh, I said it. There was silence, and then from the side of the room, 3 older male voices guffawed really, really loudly. The girl who was in charge of the play, she swiftly moved, well, I don't think that's very funny. She said nobody laughed, and off she went, trying to sort of sweep it under the carpet. Then we were learning our play, our song, and one of the dads who was in the room, and clearly one of the guffaws, he came over and just whispered in my ear and went, I thought your joke was really funny. I was trying to do a good thing. No good deed goes unpunished, as Elphaba sings in Wicked. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So it seems that I can't go into that room without causing a kerfuffle. We had a lovely time. And I got eaten by the dragon. Dragon outside of the kids' play area. So, what else have I done since then? I've been doing lots of knitting. Recap on Kickstarter. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful and so excited about this. So the Kickstarter for the DK Brioche ebook that I'm planning to write between now and the end of May next year. Double knitted brioche is so exciting to me. I've got no examples of it here in arm shot. Anyway, you've seen it before. It's so exciting to me. I cannot tell you how excited I am to start working. Thanks to the donations that and the pattern sales that had spiked since me putting out my first video after my re-emergence back into social media about 4 weeks ago. Thanks to all of that, there was more money than I felt was justifiable, just sort of living expenses. It was people were very generous, and I am intensely grateful, and I feel so loved. Thank you. Everyone needs to feel loved. It's not nice to feel hated. It's really not. And if you can feel loved, and it's not just the financial contributions, it's the messages of love and support that came with them that have made me feel so loved. But it's, the money was very useful. It got me out of a hole, but it went beyond that. I wanted to put some of that money towards this ebook. So I asked for, in the Kickstarter that I'd started, I asked for £12,000. It was going to have to be about near 20, I think, to begin with. But because of the extra money that had already come in, I thought, well, I can use that, reinvest, and thank people for their generosity. My gratitude to them is making the ebook happen, well, I didn't think it ever would. So I asked for £12,000, which was 10 for the process and about £2,000 for the fees. Now, it was funded in less than 48 hours, which is extraordinary. Thank you so much. But people are still pledging because it's not donations. It's being funded with pre-sales, and the pre-sales are still open until the 10th of November. It's actually the end of the 11th of November, but I wanted to give people the whole weekend, no matter what time zone they're in. So basically the end of November the 11th UK time, so that will hopefully involve the end of Sunday everywhere else. You can still order your pre-order of the book, and the early bird pre-order will give you, if you would like, your name in the backer's roll of honour, which will be your name listed as a thank you in the book, but it will also give you the book, the ebook, when it comes out earlier than it will go on sale on general release to the general public. There's also lots of other prizes as well that I don't expect any of those will be bought now, because the project is funded. People's generosity has been amazing, but should you wish to name one of the patterns, for example, or dedicate a chapter in the book to a loved one, then you can do that. All the information is actually get rid of my logo and put in, there you go. So that's the Kickstarter logo. You can scan that now, or you can just go to bit.ly/Sockmatician /sockkick, but the sock and the kick have to have a capital S and a capital K. That's really important with a shortened URL. Don't get me started. Now, I know most people don't, that the web is not case sensitive, so email addresses are not case sensitive and web addresses are not. But when it's a shortened URL like this, it's a coded link, that is absolutely case sensitive. So bit.ly / capital sock, capital kick, capital S and capital K on sock and kick. And that's for Sockmatician Kickstarter to help you remember it. So head over there, and if you want to join the party and get your pre-order, but it's oversubscribed, which is amazing. So I've got the money I need in order to make it happen. It's been funded by 150%. So as of the last time I looked this morning, it was just over £18,000, which is brilliant because it means I'm going to be able to make this book better. I'm going to be doing everything myself. This means I'm going to invest in some decent camera equipment with that extra money to really, really make the photograph. Otherwise, I could be doing it on my iPhone with the same lighting I'm using here. That was my little investment. Now I can really do the job properly. I'm not a photographer. Maybe I'll use it to hire a camera. I don't need a camera. I just want to get the job done really well. I might even hire someone to do the job. It means I can now, which is amazing. But because of this extra cash, again, wanting to pay some back to you guys and to thank you, what I'm doing with that is I am... Kickstarter works sometimes. If you oversubscribe or something, you can like do what's called stretch goals. So once I've got the money for the book, which I already have, my stretch goals are to try and improve the book and make the book better value as a thank you for the people who have been so generous to help it get it off the ground. And in order to do that, I think the best way to do it, I can't really add any more to the book itself in terms of content, because once the technique has been done, once I've described it, it's done. I will be putting everything I can about the technique into the book anyway. But what I can do is add to the patterns. So between 18,000, which we've just reached, and 24,000, should it go that far. Now, this isn't me going, oh, I want some more money. What I'm saying is, if more money comes in, I will do more work. So it won't be for nothing. So if for every £1,000 that goes in, so 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and up to 24, I will add another pattern to the book. How about that? At the moment, I'm planning to do 10 patterns in the book, 9 which will be designed exclusively by me, and 1 has been, it was one of the rewards. I'm going to work collaborating with somebody else, whose name I'm not going to announce yet. They might not want their name announced. They might want to keep that anonymous. That's their choice. I haven't been in touch with them yet. So there'll be a lovely collaboration. So that pattern could be anything at all. Double-knitted brioche, obviously, but it could be anything at all. I'm really, really looking forward to getting started on that. But there are potentially 6 more that I will be adding for 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24,000. I don't expect... I'm kind of panicking at the thought, really, now I've said it. I don't really expect any more money to come in. There's about 13 days left to go, something like that. But if it stalls now, I'm good. I've the funds have been raised and the book will happen. I'm so excited. I really, really can't wait to share this stuff. I'm so excited. But if the money does come in, I will push myself to add more patterns to it. Some of the design work is already done, so the workload isn't going to be that huge. I've already got a hat and cowl matching. I've got another cowl for the sort of the easy beginner version, and this is the hat. It's not. It's tiny, as you can see. This is the prototype for the hat. Now, at the moment, only one person has gone for the reward of naming a pattern in the book, and I don't know whether they're going to name this. I have a name for it. If not, it'll be the Utz hat and cowl, named after my friend Walt Utz, because it was sort of designed especially with him in mind. But it's kind of nice, right? This is double-knitted brioche, and the cowl. Have I got the cowl in there to hand? I don't think I have, actually. The cowl is the same double-knitted brioche here, but it has the interlocking squares, just sort of a pair, a pink and orange, pink and orange, pink of going all the way round the cowl. But for the hat to have a little bit of different visual interest, what I've done is I've just made this little one diagonal of orange, pink squares there, working around that way. But that's it. Sort of, you can wear it on the front or on the side. This is just the prototype. I didn't have. That's why. Not much of it. I mean, you know, it's perfectly possible to wear a hat like that. I don't think I will. This won't be wasted, but it's not really what I wanted the hat to be. So I want to have this long brim you can turn up, cuff it up, and have it nice, decent. I think it's also stretched out a bit too much. Can you see that? It's not bad, but if I get the design there at the front, it's opened up a little bit too much, really, because I've had to stretch it to fit my big bonds. But you know, I could. A little quiff out the front. Have I got a quiff at all? Not really. There you go. It could easily be that sort of little skull cap type hat, but that wasn't the plan. So I'm going to reknit the hat and the cowl. I just don't have enough yarn, and it turns out this fabulous neon yarn from Skeins in New Zealand, obviously we're double-sided, totally reversible, of course we are. It turns out this yarn is now discontinued anyway, so I can't get more of this. So these are my prototypes. I will knit them again with some more stuff which is coming over to me from New Zealand in different colours. There will be more of it. It'll be... I was doing yarn chicken designing, and that's never a good idea. I was trying to cut corners with the designs so that I could fit them into the finite amount of yarn that I had, and that is never a good idea. I kind of knew it, but it was useful. I've learned a lot in the process of doing both. I've learned how these things work. I've learned how I wanted to get it's the first time I've done a double knitted brioche crown. I think it looks really lovely. Again, of course, it's totally reversible, gorgeous. So that's that. So I've got the pink and grey cowl hat and cowl combo that you've seen before. These two, the Utz hat and cowl. There's a big long, it's pink and blue scarf you've already seen. Another hat. I don't think I'm planning to do any garments. I'm not a garment designer, and I don't really want to. I don't want to do something that I might not necessarily do very successfully. So it will mostly be accessories. I may put in some DK brioche socks. But actually, I want to do a big shawl as well. But you never know. I don't know what the external designer might want to design with me, so we'll work on that together. But yeah, so it could be anything. If there are 16 different patterns in the book, I want to sort of broaden the range. And the reason why I want to do these extra patterns is not just so that I can. It's not so that I can just push myself and work harder. What I really want is. I want to make the book feel really worthwhile because it's a new technique. There won't be any other patterns out there for it. The joy is that you can knit any existing brioche pattern in it as long as the pattern is charted. So if it's just written instructions, you have to do a lot of translating, and that's never going to be fun. But the joy is there are millions of patterns out there, and I will keep going back to Nancy Marchant. She's the absolute master at this, and her work, when it's charted, lends itself very well to this. I plan to do, I need to get her permission first, but I do plan to, just for my own benefit, is knit a section of one of her pieces in DK brioche so that you can see the reversibility and how things are very different from the traditional way the brioche is done. That would be a really nice way to be able to illustrate what DK brioche can bring to the table. So that's the plan. That's the Kickstarter. We're 151% funded, which is absolutely extraordinary. Thank you so much. But now let's talk about what's on my needles now. So I suddenly turned into a bakery bear then. Yes, I will. Yes. I'm going to talk about finished objects first. So you've seen that. I kind of like it. I don't have a problem with the size of it there. It's really hot. It's really kind of fun. I think it's kind of cute, but I don't think it's particularly universal hat size. It's also, I mean, it would be bigger on a smaller head. But so I also, now I don't know if many of you know this, my husband's Jewish, and he sings in synagogue every Saturday, and he once jokingly said to me, will you knit me a kippah? The kippah being the yarmulke, or what's the other word for them? The skull caps that Jewish people wear to cover their heads when they are in synagogue. Sometimes people wear them all the time. Ben's particular branch of Judaism at the synagogue he goes to is Orthodox tradition, so fairly observant, but also relaxed about certain things. So many of the men who go to his synagogue only wear their kippahs when they're either in synagogue, or if they are during Shabbat, or at a dinner for one of the high holy days or something like that. So they observe at certain times. But I said yes, I would. I'd be very happy to. And I didn't say anything more about it. And ages later, I thought, you know, I'm just going to get off my backside and do it. And I'm really, really pleased with the results. Obviously, it's double knitting. And I'm thinking about releasing this as a pattern. I don't know if there'll be much call for it, but I'm very pleased with it. And it looks like this. Here it is. So it's knitted in the round completely. Dropped it. That's probably sacrilegious in some way. It's knitted in the round, and it features the Star of David on it. But now I'm just going to move the lighting so that I can get closer to. There you go. So here it is. So now you can see. Can you see that the black Star of David sits sort of like all the lines are done. It's all done with increases and decreases. So it's not just here's a dot and here's a dot of a different colour. But obviously on the inside, it's completely reversible, and it sits. Doesn't sit very well on my head. It sits nicely on Ben's, and we're using the little clips to clip it in. So it kind of. I can't see that. I don't know if it was in shot or not. But I rather like it. I'm very pleased with it. It's quite a quick knit. This is done with DK weight yarn. There are 6 sections to it, which is obviously because of the 6 points of the Star of David, or the Magen David. And around the edge, do you know what? The heating's come on. I'm getting really. Around the edge, it's got a very unusual texture here, which you can see better on that side. That's the side you see. So can you see that patterning around the edge? It almost looks like crochet. Can you see that? It doesn't look like most double knitting textures. That's because it's not. It is, in fact. So I would wear it there, like so. No. It's all right, isn't it? It is, in fact, I don't have a religious faith, but I'm very respectful of other people's, and often when I go to Shabbat dinners and Passover meals and Seders and things like that, at the home of somebody who is observant, then I will always make sure I cover my head. Because tattoos are not really particularly allowed in the Jewish faith, and I'm covered in those, and I've got a shaved head and mohawk and stuff, so I do what I can. But this little pattern here, it's something that I've been working on. No, that's not true. Something I've been wanting to work with for a long time. I call it Chris Stitch. The only reason I call it Chris Stitch is because if you do something a little bit different when you're trying to do ordinary standard double knitting with stocking stitch on both sides, if you get one aspect wrong, what you end up with is Chris Stitch, but it's really rather attractive, and it comes up with this lovely little texture here. What it does is it pulls, instead of all the stitches and columns lining up like that, what it does is it pulls the back column of stitches through between the front column of stitches. So instead of your columns there, you get that kind of, so they go back and they go forward. And so you get the stitches come between each other. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's really easy to do. And I wanted to experiment with that. So I cast on and I did some of that. And then as I started doing the decreases to get me into the section with the Star of David on it, then what I did was I stopped and went back to normal double knitting, and Bob's a lobster, really. I'm very happy with it. I like it. So I'm gonna put that out as a pattern, because I think there may be many other Jewish knitters out there, or knitters with Jewish friends or male family members who are Jewish who would appreciate a knitted gift like that, that is something for their observance of their faith or heritage or culture, because I know that for Jewish people they can be all of those things separately or combined. So I'm very happy with that. Very nice indeed. What else have I been working on? Okay, do you know what? Straight to what's on the needles, really. So, carrying on from Chris Stitch, after I'd knitted this, in the same week, I went up to visit my sister, having taught in the north of England, one of the last public classes that I'm ever going to be doing, which is kind of sad, but kind of a relief as well. I spent some time with my family, which is always wonderful. They are crazy. When you meet my family, I'm no surprise suddenly. Definitely true, definitely true. And my dad, last time he was down visiting me, I actually handed him this and said, let's do some double knitting. He's a beginner knitter, he's made a couple of hitchhikers and a rib scarf. And I know he's watching. I'm very, very proud of you. I really, really am. He's doing brilliantly, coming on leaps and bounds. But I said, let's do some double knitting. So I showed him how it works. And I just sort of prodded and I said, why don't you take one of these home with you? And I handed him the worksheet that I give out when I teach beginners double knitting. And so, don't worry about it, just have it. You might want to have a go. Well, he did. And he had a brilliant go. And he showed me the swatch that he had made. And because I had not been there to advise, and he'd taken it all from the page, usually that page is supplemented by me in class going, oh, not like that, go in there, I can fix things as I go along. Because I wasn't there to do that, and I left him on his own. What he was doing was perfect Chris Stitch. It absolutely was. And it was beautiful. It was accurate, it was precise. It just wasn't what one would call standard double knitting. And I think he was a bit disappointed, and I said, no, honestly, it's brilliant. You've completely nailed it. Now with one tiny little change, you will have no problem with double knitting. And he's flying with it, and it's going to be great. So it was odd because I had literally just done that, saying I wanted to deal with Chris Stitch and wanted to work with it, and hadn't done up until that week. And then I saw that, and seeing his really galvanised me. And an idea that had been sloshing around in my mind for ages. Do you know what? I'm actually going to just slip these stitches across so I can get to the end of the row, because I don't want to show you mid-row because I can't deal with the positions of the needles and stuff like that. So it galvanised me into knitting this. I'm not knitting this quickly, I'm literally just slipping stitches from one to the other to get to the end of the row. And I'm really, really happy with it. I bought some yarn and went out, made the decision to go to a yarn shop, first time in a while. And it was great, and I was very well received. And look at this. I'm slightly in love with this, I have to say. And when I say slightly, I mean more than slightly. It is, this is an exploration of texture. This is what this is. So I've actually started with a Chris Stitch border. You see, it really does look very much like crochet. And then as you work through, so the needle's clacking on the floor. So as you work through, we've got different squares. It's just a patchwork really, but of course it's not knitted as separate squares as people sometimes think when I've shown them to them already. It's knitted all the way along the row, but you just zip in and out of lots and lots of different textures. So here we've got marled two colours together for garter stitch, which is of course mostly reversible, and then we've got some double knitted brioche. So this, I don't know what to do with this one. I don't think this is enough double knitted brioche to be a pattern that goes into the book, but it's certainly something that wants to supplement the book, so it may be like a little bonus or something like that. So we've got two colours of double knitted brioche. We've got the green knit stitches showing and the yellow knit stitches showing. We've got yellow on one side and green on the other, standard double knitting. Then we've got these patches here, which are double knitted lace. Very, very gorgeous, like that. Some salt and peppering, and some squares of Chris Stitch. It really is a Chris Stitch extravaganza. Look at that, it's beautiful. Really, really lovely. And the overall effect, it's so that it's nice and wide. It's a nice wide scarf, so it's going to get it's going to be really, really cozy. And because of all these different textures with the brioche and the lace there, it's going to be really, really cozy. Chris stitch goes really, really flat. It's kind of a bit like, it's almost like a linen stitch because the stitches get held by floats of yarn trapped around the front of them. It's a similar process to that, but it's kind of almost like a double knitted linen stitch, but it's not quite because there's knits. I need to examine it a bit more closely and see what's going on and compare the two. It might in fact be double knitted linen stitch. I don't think it is. And again, you get the reversibility being the same on both sides. So I've added a little flower to that panel and a little butterfly that's coming through on that panel there, which is better on the other side there. And it's really, really enjoying it. The yarn is the Uncommon Thread BFL DK, and it's gorgeous colours, really, really nice. I'm hoping it'll soften. It's not scratchy. It's what I love about BFL is its crispness, and it gives great stitch definition. And this is a really nice high twist, so there's next to no bloom on it at all. You really can't see much fuzz going on, which is fabulous for double knitting. But I'm hoping it will soften a bit with wear because it's kind of hard. That's not a bad review of it at all. I'm enjoying working with it, and the colours are absolutely beautiful. It's just not cashmere, you know. What is? So that's that. In terms of what else I've been up to, I'm trying to get together as many of my back catalogue. You're not over there, are you? You're over there. As many of my back catalogue of previously unreleased patterns as I possibly can before I start work on the book in earnest. And that is because I realised I've got this whole untapped resource, and there's loads and loads of patterns I've got out there, usually things that I knitted for magazines. Once the rights have returned to me, I've never done anything about sort of releasing them privately, so that's foolish of me. I've got quite a lot, 7 or 8 I should think. So expect some patterns coming out from me over the next couple of months, up to and during the writing process. I'm really looking forward to getting them out there. Some of them will be harder to do than others. I still need to work on this bad boy here, which none of you have seen for a little while. This is the double knitted lace scarf. You can see when I hold it up, you can see exactly how lacy it really is there against the light in the background. It is, there you go. That makes more sense, Nathan. There you go, proper lacy. And what double knitted lace can do that nothing else can do in terms of lace is give you two sides and give you the colour and all the rest of it. I need to block this. I also need to reknit the end. I think I've explained this before. I was knitting on the way back from San Francisco last year, over a year ago now. I'm trying to think about it. Because I was knitting the end tapers to a point like this, and I knitted all of that on the plane on the way home, and I was making notes on my PDF form, and when I got home, none of the notes had saved. I've got no idea what the stitches are. In fact, I've just over there, I pulled out some yarn the other day, and I've cast on enough stitches. Cast on enough stitches to begin here, so I need to just knit it and sit down and chart it all out as I go, which would be much better than scribbling on a PDF. I was technology let me down at that point. I've just seen something that I want to tell you about in a minute. He said camp. So I am planning to do that, and one of them, there are a couple of patterns which were going to be going in books. They're not going in books anymore because things turned out differently. But one of them is this pattern. This is a hat which I'm now calling Restoring Forces. Restoring forces in physics are anything which brings sort of an agitated system back to equilibrium. So like waves on the ocean. And look, it's a very, very simple hat. Oh, what's that on it? Fluff. It's a very, very simple hat, and it just comes together at the crown like that. It's knitted in 3 colours, but it's standard double knitting. It's only 2 at a time, and this was intended to be a sort of beginner's double knitting project for a book about new techniques. It's not going in that book anymore, so it's mine, and I really like it. I really like what it does. I think it's a good warm beanie toque type toque. That's how they pronounce it in North America. And it's great. What's interesting is on the inside there's quite an unexpected surprise. It is the same pattern. It's not like the two pattern hat that I did before, but on the inside it goes into stripes, which is not what I expected when I was making it, because of course knitting in the round, here it was, I cast on here and I was knitting round and round and round and round and round, only ever seeing the outside of the hat. And at one point I turned it inside out and went, oh, stripes. It's really nice. I think it works well in both. It's just this really sort of flowing design. Very nice. And accidental. Completely accidental. So this one will be coming out soon. It's obviously knitted and all ready to go. And I just need to write it up properly. Do you know what? I'm really glad I've got this back. This is going to sound a bit bitter. When you're writing for a book, you're governed by other people's input. I'm a bit of a control freak, and I didn't want anyone else's input, but I had to make compromises to the way I wrote and explained things based on the whims of the people who were putting the book together. I didn't enjoy the process very much. I felt I was making proper compromises, but now I get to do it my way. And this hat, Restoring Forces, will be out very soon, and I'm really, really pleased with it. What I actually did at the time, because I had yarn left over, I thought at the time it would be quite fun to make a baby version of the hat as well. And so you can see it's got 3 repeats rather than 4. I'm not going to put the pattern for this in the book. It's tiny, but next time I go to Ben's synagogue or for dinner, I shall wear it as a kippah, because look, it fits me perfectly, and because of my Velcro head, it sits there very, very nicely. And I'm really looking forward to being able to show my respect with something that I've made myself. I really genuinely can't wait. And on the inside we've got the stripes if we want to, it's all good. So I'm not going to put this in the pattern. I'm really not. Should I? Oh, I don't know. I'll think about it. All right, I'll think about it. But this one will be out very soon. I'm really, really looking forward to it. You can, of course, as with all these sorts of beanie style hats, you can sort of cuff them up like that and wear them in that sort of style. And I think that works very, very nicely, because these waves really do work in all directions. I'm very, very happy with this hat, and more delighted than I can tell you that it is now mine. Soon it can be yours. Tell you what, some of this stuff has done me some favours, and I'm starting to see that, and I'm starting to really move on from the hatred and the bitterness, and realise that a challenge is only an opportunity for personal growth. I've done a lot of growing. Thank you. Thank you all. I've got some stash enhancement as well to show you, and it's there and there. Hang on. So this was what I bought the other day. So obviously some of the stash enhancement I've already talked about is this, but the others is these. Ooh, aren't they nice together? Kind of like a chartreusey gold and a bluey steely grey. This is the Quince & Co. Osprey, which is 100% American wool. I've got it in honey and tombstone, and these, I've got 2 of each of these. And hang on, that's the other 2 for the scarf, the uncommon thread, it's there, blah blah blah. And these are the ones that I got. This is a chunky weight yarn. It's really, really thick. It's fabulous. 155 meters per 100 grams. It's going to be something for the book. I haven't quite decided what yet, but it is definitely going to be something for the book. I'm looking forward to that. And then, while I was in Stockholm, I said I'd talk about this, I bought this. I went into a shop and I asked I said, it's local wool. And she said, oh, this. It's not really local. It's made in Denmark. But it's local because it's Gotland, which is a very, very Swedish breed of sheep. Of course, it's knit for you, Fårö, I think is how it would be pronounced, Gotland wool. It's 80% Gotland and 20% Falkland Merino. Still smells pretty sheepy. I like it. And it's only after I bought these 3 that I realised I'd seen this colour combo somewhere before. That was entirely unintentional, but clearly I liked it once, so I was going to like it again. I'm thinking that this is going to be some kind of, hopefully there's enough here, so like a sort of wide wrap, maybe lacy or maybe double knitty. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I just wanted something. It's really odd, this Gotland, I don't know if you've ever seen Gotland fleece, it's very curly, very, very curly, like it's had a perm. And although it's kind of rustic, I have to say, it's a bit scratchy, Ben won't go anywhere near it. But I like the way it's got this sheen, it's got this luster, it's very like a mohair style of feel to it. So it's really got the handle of mohair, if you like that kind of thing. Now, I'm going to wrap this up because we are at 55 minutes now. I want to finish in under an hour. I just wanted to say, what have I learned this week? I've learnt that seeing friends is rejuvenating. I have learnt that spending time with loved ones is food for the soul. And if any of you are feeling like you need food for the soul, do that. Get what you need. Self-care is not a selfish act. Self-care is all about keeping yourself well enough and fit enough to be able to care for others. And that's really, really important. So if you're the kind of person who likes to give care, remember to give some to yourself, because you are just as important as those who you care for around you. So there we go. That's it. That's my thought for the week. And well, this podcast episode is now definitely a finished object. Just remember, life is a work in progress. Take it one stitch at a time. Bye for now. Hello, it's me again. Don't worry, the podcast really is over. I've just popped in, however, to say if you enjoyed it and you want to make sure you never miss another episode, why not click on this handy little subscribe button right here. Don't say I never do anything for you. Or if you're worried that you might have missed out on some really fun stuff from previous episodes, I've got a playlist link for you here, which has got all of the previous Sockmatician podcast episodes on it, so you never need to feel out of the loop again. Bye for now.